What's going on, everyone? My name's Brandon Gruber. I'm a dietitian at Revive Wellness, and today I'm going to be talking to you about how to manage your nutrition for fitness in the fall. A lot of changes have happened at this point in the year of 2020, and a lot of the common things that I'm hearing from people are they're getting back into exercising more, they're getting back to the gym, they're running more outside, they're doing more workouts at home. So what are some things to think about from a nutrition perspective? Let's go through that. I'll give you 5 tips today, at least 5 things that I think about. It's not going to be the entire story of what you can think about with all of this, but hopefully coming at it today, I can give you some things to think about and how you can make sure that you are progressing, you're getting better, you're getting stronger, you're getting faster, and you're meeting your goals, whatever those are. Let's get into it. So, who am I? I already mentioned who I am. My specialties. As a registered dietitian, I have a few areas that I work more specifically in. Performance and sports nutrition is one of them, of course. I also work with plant-based eating, nutrition for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. All of these ones are some of my favorite areas to work with people in their nutrition. We're, of course, going to be focusing on the first one. If you want to learn more about me or learn more about Revive Wellness, then here are some links and social media accounts that you can go see, and there's mine as well, brand.the.rd on Instagram. So, the first one, be aware of how your appetite changes. So as you might anticipate, when you start exercising more, your appetite's going to go up. Your energy expenditure is going to go up as a result of your activity level going up, and this leads to your body's hormonal environment changing to encourage you to eat more. And this all has everything to do with frequency, intensity, duration, type, all of those things impact it. Intuitively, this might mean that you respond accordingly. However, this can be challenging for a variety of reasons. And not everybody can 100% pay attention to their internal cues, but you can also think about it as a before and after kind of thing, where what was your activity level before, what was your food intake before, what is your activity level now, and you can kind of work your way through how much you might need to change your food when you think about how much more active you are. In any case, it's good to think about keeping up with it, and this kind of leads to the next point here. Be careful not to underfeed. This is a common one that I see with people that aren't not aware of how much they might need to be consuming on a daily basis to keep up with their activity. And that's really it. Adapting your eating to prevent underfeeding. And there are markers that you can look for in symptoms and things like this that'll give you clues to if you're keeping up well or not. Energy level, mood, sleep, energy level not just in exercise, but outside of exercise as well. And then your performance, how well you're recovering, your stamina in exercise, especially as you have multiple exercise sessions throughout the week. Even if the desired outcome is fat loss for you, not everybody enters into exercising, training to, the main goal being performance. Some people think of it more about weight or fat loss. However, we got to remember that a caloric deficit, which is something that is needed for fat loss, it can't be too large or for too long. That can backfire. Your brain doesn't like to function in an environment like that because it's simply not getting enough fuel, and there's all sorts of signals there that are telling your brain that. So it'll actually encourage you to consume more, and that's where the backfiring can come from. And in any case, of course, your performance is going to be impacted, which might actually be counterproductive. If your exercise performance gets worse and your workouts are not as effective, your enjoyment is going to go down, and you're also not going to have as much of energy expenditure related to exercise. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. And we got to remember that nutrient delivery, vitamins, minerals, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, water, all of those things, think beyond just calories. Those are all still very crucial. And the more that we lower the amount of food that we're eating, either intentionally or unintentionally, the more challenging it is to meet our energy needs. Number 3, focus on the foundation first. I like to think of this concept as a work your way up the chain, or work your way up the pyramid, focus on your foundation, and the further along you go, the less of an impact it has on your overall performance, exercise, and everything involved. Think of the majority of exercise performance actually comes from a strong foundation, with all of the foods listed there, both food and fluid, so hydration, all important. No supplement will ever beat any of those, ever. Research is just not there. When you're comparing it side by side, we're ignoring other factors. Consider the percentage of your total too. We get wrapped up in the supplementation before, during, after workouts, but that's a small percentage of the whole, right? When you think about what the bigger percentage is, that's going to be your foundation, right? So it would make sense to focus on what takes up the larger percentage first, and focusing on your foundation can actually give you more robust results from a performance perspective, and mainly because it takes up a big percentage and because it has a better effect than other things like supplementation. Food first. Number 4, carbohydrates are not the enemy. And remember that carbs include things like starchy veggies, fruits, grains and grain products, pulses like beans and lentils, and dairy products. They're not just bread and potatoes. I very commonly have heard people that say they want to cut out carbs, but they're still eating fruit. And we got to remember that, you know, there are carbs that are more processed, more refined. There are carbs that are more whole food, that are less processed. Our body handles them differently. We can't lump them all together. And this has been researched a lot. From an exercise perspective, performance consistently will decrease when carbohydrate intake is too low. There are very select cases where that might not be true, but most of the time that is the case. And consider what your desired outcomes are too with all of this. If your main outcome that you're wanting to see is performance gain, then it would make sense that carbohydrate intake is well taken care of and consistent and not too low. If you're thinking more about body composition outcomes, then you might think otherwise, but you still want to, it's kind of the same story as the previous number 2 about not underfeeding too much, because the performance isn't going to be there to work towards any sort of outcome or goal. And those two usually compete with each other too. So wanting both at the same time is very challenging. And I had to put this on here about not believing social media hype. You'll see many messages about, I tried this worked really well. I did keto, I did low carb, and I still functioned really good. I've not really heard too many things about people exercising to any high intensity, moderate to high intensity for any long duration of time where they were doing that and also seeing good performance from an exercise perspective. There's usually a lot of variables there that we don't always talk about in detail. So, and that's the thing about the social media as well. You don't always see everything involved. And just because somebody's saying something doesn't mean it's always true 100%. And, you know, there's usually more to the story. Number 5, and this one really doesn't seem like a surprise. Vegetables, fruit, color, the rainbow, plants, all the good things related to eating colorful fruits and veg. In general, think of different colored fruits and veggies as having different nutrient content. In general, sometimes different ones have same nutrients, but overall they're going to be different as a whole in most cases. This is why you've probably heard get a variety of all of these things, and that's why. And when we're thinking exercise performance, all these different vitamins, minerals help with muscle repair, recovery, refueling. All these processes have some sort of vitamin or mineral involved, sometimes many of them. And it's a complex network of processes in your body. And if they're not functioning efficiently because nutrient intake from fruit, veg isn't quite there, that's either going to be less efficient, not as effective, which means you're not going to be able to push as hard as you would otherwise. And all of these things encourage progression over time. Muscle repair, recovery, refueling, being able to push hard. All of these things encourage progression, which is ideally what you want to see when you exercise for a period of time, no matter what. Some practical tips: switch up your veggie choices on a daily basis or every few days if you want to keep things simple on a daily basis and you don't want to change them up every day. Get a rainbow of colors on a daily basis or every few days. It's kind of picture each color as different types of nutrients, like I mentioned, and go beyond raw and steamed. I feel people really get caught up, especially in the context of exercise and sport performance nutrition. We get caught up in like, oh, I need to do raw veggies or steamed veggies, and really plain. That's not the case. Add some love to them in some way, and if you need some help with this, we can help you with that. And not only is that going to increase enjoyment, it's also probably going to contribute to consistency over time, which means that all of the previous things that I just mentioned, and even the previous 4 points, more likely to happen. So 5 tips. I could go on and on about this. I'll probably do more on specific topics. If you want to hear about specific topics that I went through and even some that I didn't, let us know. Here's a couple links that you can go to if you need some support, both from an exercise perspective or otherwise. Check out our other videos. Here's some of our social media links that you can visit. We have a lot of content in many places, so be sure to check it out. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video.